Hi everyone, it's Deandra. I thought I would give you a recap of my weekend from Days of the Dead 4 Chicago. It's been a week since I arrived there on the first day, so I figured in honor of it, and because I need to get my lazy ass to do this, I would finally do the video today. So I'm going to try and make it short. It's not going to be that short, so call work, tell them you're going to be off for the next week and a half because you're going to have to watch this video. You're not going to have to watch it, but if you make it through the video, I thank you and you're a kind person. So here we go. I'll start from the beginning. So we left, and by we, I mean my father, Michelle, who is of Team Nancy with me. We went to Chicago. We left right after one of my first classes, around 1 o'clock my time, and we got to Chicago around 8, and, we're walking in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please, Lord, don't let me see Heather yet. Like Indianapolis, which is Days of the Dead, the first Days of the Dead, when I first met her, I was like, please don't let me see her. And she was like one of the first people I saw at the counter. I didn't know it at the time. I couldn't really tell because I didn't have my contacts in because I don't wear contacts, I wear glasses. So I was afraid that was going to happen again. So we put the stuff in the room, and I go downstairs to get the passes. And there's a little bit of a misunderstanding, but I get my pass, and then the 2 weekend passes. All I need is the VIP pass. So I give it to my father, and I'm like, okay, Dad, so here's your pass. And he said, well, would you like to go in? And I'm like, what? No. And he said, why not? And I told him because Heather and Amanda are in there, and I look like crap, and I don't want to go in, and they're going to be like, you look like crap, but hello. Plus, I had this whole, like thing in my head where I would see Heather for the first time, and it would be like I'm in my new nightmare costume and she's sitting at the table and she looks up and I look at her and it's like, oh my god, there we are together, and then we meet and it's fantastic and it's just awesome. But as it would happen, just like in Greek mythology, when you try to avoid something, you end up running right into it. My father goes, they're not in the convention hall. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, they just walked past. Apparently, as I'm freaking out there about, the passes to the guy behind the counter, who I apologize, I was really nervous and tired and everything, but they'd walked right behind me. And I'm like, shut up. So I start freaking out, and then I have to go outside and get air before I pass out. And I see some friends, and we hug and everything. And, I've got my What Would Nancy Do shirt on, and my Be Nancy button, and my Nancy necklace from Big Blue Box. And I hug someone so hard, and I look down at Nancy, and her body's gone. And I'm like, what is this? This is sacrilegious. Where's her body? So now, on top of being nervous, being tired, being excited, and being hungry, I am like, oh my god, I can't find her body, but I find it, thank god. And then I'm like, oh, how am I gonna, put this back on? And I get inside, I'm really, depressed, and then I see Amanda walking by. And there's the little figure behind her, the back of the head, the brown hair, and I'm like, no. They're getting closer. You know what? Whatever. And so I calm down, and then I realize I really am hungry. So we sit down to eat dinner. Michelle's over here at a little booth. Paige, my good buddy Paige, is across the way, and her cousin's there, and I see some more friends, and we love each other, and we always talk to each other. And then my dad says, he's going to go in the convention hall, and I'm like, whatever. So then I see Tuesday and Mikey, who's all the ladies' publicist, and Tuesday's mother come out, and I'm like, oh my god, we should leave because they're coming out pretty soon. Heather and Amanda are going to come out, and then they're going to see me, and I'm going to look like crap, and they're going to be so you look like crap. And I was so nervous, and I didn't want my whole idea of the meeting to be ruined. So they walked off, and I'm like, okay, whatever. My dad comes back, and he's got this swag going on, and he looks at me, and he's like, and I think to myself, what is your problem? What do you want? And he just goes, and he shows me his camera, and he's got pictures with Heather and him and Amanda and him on the camera, and I'm like, Dad, what are you doing this for? And he's like, well, Heather was asking about you. She's like, where's Deandra? And he was like, oh, she's eating. Well, thanks, Dad. Thanks. So I start talking to my friends again. Then I look over and I see Amanda by the entrance of, it's like an open lounge area. And I see her over there talking to some fans. And I'm like, no, know, and my heart's going like a million miles an hour, and I just know that Heather's going to be coming by because, you know, they travel, they're like two peas in a pod. You can't have one without the other. And I see this shape coming over with brown hair, and, you know, I can't make it out, but I just know. And whoever this is looking into the restaurant. I'm like, no, 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 no. And so Michelle is really excited. She sees her, and she's like, oh my God, Deandra, we have to just talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. So we're talking to each other, and I'm like covering my beanie. I'm like, what would Nancy do? And I'm covering my streak, and I'm like, please don't see me. I'm like, don't know what to do. I'm like freaking out. I shouldn't be freaking out, but I am. I'm you know. I could see this figure getting closer and closer, and Paige is across the way, like, Deandra, she's coming, she's coming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And halfway through, when the figure is like almost there, I know it's over. She's seen me. It's over. She's coming. And then, you know, I'm talking to Michelle, and I'm just like maybe thinking it's going to be over, but then all of a sudden the figure stops, and I hear hello in that oh so familiar voice. You know, I look up, and there is this grinning Heather, just so like, and I look at her, and I'm like, oh my God, and I just get like hug vomit, and I just get up, and she goes like this, and I go like this, and we just hug each other, and she just hugs me tighter and tighter in this really long hug, and it's just tighter and tighter, and she just goes like this, and then she lets go, and she grabs my hands, and she goes, you didn't come see me today. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I look like crap, and I was hungry, and I'm tired and everything. And then she just starts talking to me, and then she's like, it's Deandra, she's so happy, and she's still home. And then she looks back at Amanda, and she's like, Amanda, you know Deandra, right? And Amanda's like, yeah, hi. I'm like, hi, Amanda. I can't believe Heather's just pointed me out to Amanda. Of course, you know, I've talked to Amanda before, but... And then she's talking to some of my friends, and then we talk a little bit, and then she's like, well, I gotta go, I'm really hungry, and we're like, bye, and then I go and sit down, and I'm just frozen for like 10 minutes, and I don't know what to do, and people are taking pictures of me because they love the way I look. Thanks, guys. Real supportive. And Paige is like, yeah, I heard her all the way from across the restaurant, like, oh wait, I gotta go say hello to Deandra, or want to say hello to Deandra. I can't remember what she said, but basically it was that she had to come over to say hello to me. And I was like, what? Saturday comes around, and I get up, and I'm all excited, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, it's Saturday, and you know, we go down breakfast, and I'm like, she's not going to be there. Gotta wash my hands, come back. Michelle's putting down her food. She goes, Deandra, your father's talking to Heather. And I'm like, what? I look down, they're getting omelets together. I'm like, shut up. No, this is the second meal where I'm not going to be able to eat like a normal person. And why is she so I'm like sitting there eating, and Michelle and I are uncomfortable, so we have a thing of Activia, and I keep going, Activia, you know, to lighten the mood, and we're talking about how Jamie Lee Curtis is that horror hound, and we're laughing, and making all kinds of Activia jokes, and being real creepy, like what would we do if we wanted Jamie Lee Curtis to sign our Activia. And, you know, she's across the way, she's got her glasses on, her hair's pulled back, she's got a newspaper and some, I don't know what she had in front of her, I wasn't really paying attention, and, you know, she's really into her newspaper, and Michelle are like, what are we going to do, how are we going to get out of here? And Michelle's like, let's just walk past her, but I don't want to feel obligated, you know, be like, hello, not like, I don't want to talk to you, but more like, maybe she just wants alone time. She doesn't want to be bothered by people. But what if we pass by and she's like, they didn't say hello to me? And then she gets all upset. I don't know what to do. And then she gets up and she goes to get more food. And Michelle and I are like, let's just go. So we pew out of there. And then we go upstairs, and I put on my new nightmare costume, and you know, I get my makeup done by James Howard. I want to thank you, James, for the awesome makeup job. You know, people were like, oh my God, is she really hurt? So that was awesome. And then Paige did my perfect hair for a new Nightmare Heather, and there's some really great pictures online, and you know, we were watching the movie as we were doing it, and we go downstairs, and I'm waiting in Heather's line, and I can hear people, you know, complimenting my costume and everything, and I'm like, this is so exciting. And then you know, I see through the little space between two people, I see Heather, and I see her, and then I like back up, and I'm like, oh my God, what is she gonna think? And she sees me, and she goes, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I get up to her line, and she just loves the costume. She just loves it. And she's like, oh my gosh, can I like take a picture of you and then put it on my table and tell people it's me? And it was just laughing. And so I was like, no, Heather, you can't do that. So Heather wants to see my limp. So she's like, can I see your limp? Can show me your limp? And I meant to say, oh, Heather, how did you know I was actually limping around, the convention rather than just being, whatever. And she's like, well, but it came more like, how did you know this character limped? And she's like, well, it's my character, duh. And I'm like, hey, okay. So I back up like 20 feet and I'm like, are you ready? Are you ready? And she's like, I'm ready. And then I start limping and she's like, oh my God. And then she gets all excited and she just smiles and she goes, no, you have to say, Kruger, you bastard, take me. And I'm like, Heather, oh shucks, I can't do that. Besides, we have to take this one little step at a time. And she's like, okay. And so she starts, I pick out a picture for her to sign, and she's like, I was thinking about you when I was taking out this picture. I'm like, it's gotta be fierce like Deandra. It's gotta be fierce, and that's a good one. And I'm like, you're so full of it, but I love you anyway. But thank you. I don't know what to say. And then I know we're taking a super long time. Like this is just a long meeting, and there's this huge line, and she's opening the gifts, and she's saying, oh, Deandra, you have so many friends. Every time I go somewhere, people are like, I know Deandra. And I start laughing. I didn't know this at the time, but the people started making comments in line, like, how long is this going to take? How much long is it take to sign something? Blah, blah, blah. And Heather, because I remember her saying this, but she turns, and I didn't know why she said this, but she goes, you guys will have your moments of happiness, but for right now, let me have mine. And I'm like, oh... And I wanted to cry, but I didn't want to cry, but I wanted to cry. And she loves all the gifts, and she gives me a hug, and I couldn't, and another really long hug, and I couldn't tell, but the people behind me were telling me that were watching her that she was like wiping tears from her eyes from around my back, and then Michelle said she came up, and Heather was, wiping tears from underneath her eyes, and I just thought that was so sweet. And then I went up to Amanda, and we were talking, and she's like, I don't know why, but I just love you. We just love you. Because, Heather's not that tech savvy, and she doesn't go on all the time. We're with each other all the time. And every time you tweet at me, and we're together, I go, Heather, you'll never guess who just tweeted me. I thought that was so funny. But we talked, and she is such a sweetheart. I love Amanda. I've always loved Amanda. But after this weekend, I love her times like 3 trillion times more than before. Then I met Tuesday, and Tuesday was really sweet, and her mother was really sweet. I see where she gets her good looks from, and there was Mikey there. I met him, and later at the VIP party, we want to see Heather and Amanda and talk to them, and I really want to talk to Amanda now. And so they were there for a little bit, and then they left, and Michelle and I, and all the Nancy fans were really upset, and we're like, and so they go upstairs. I don't know where they go, but I have this feeling we're going to see them again. And Michelle leaves, and she goes to look for my father in the bar area, and she texts me and says, Deandra, they're here. And I'm like, holy crap. So I grab Anthony, the awesome Anthony, and we run upstairs, and we're like sitting there, and she's watching the Oregon versus Stanford game with Amanda, and she's like freaking out, and her arms are flailing, and she's screaming, and we're like, woohoo! I don't want to go over because, maybe they're having girl time, but people keep buying them wine. So we're contemplating, like, should we go over? Should we go over? Should we go over? And we're like, but if they would have girl time, Michelle was telling me, if they really wanted girl time, they could go up to their room. So eventually we get the courage to go over, and Amanda had gone somewhere, and Michelle walked over, and she sat down, and Heather's like, hello, and then I come over, and I'm like, may I sit down? And Heather's like, hello, and then she goes to move her purse from Amanda's seat, and I'm like, no, I'll sit over here. So we sit over there, and Amanda comes back, and we start talking about dubstep, and Amanda's like, yeah, someone's gonna be like, Tina, and Heather's like, yeah, and then Deandra, you could be like, screw sleep, and she starts like dubstepping her lines, and I'm like, Heather, those are your lines, you have to do them. She's like, yeah. She's just laughing. And then she starts planning my future, because I want to be a lawyer. And she's like, oh, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to go be a constitutional lawyer. And she starts telling me how her father wants to, once still calls her up and says, are you ready to be a lawyer yet? And Heather says that I have to go to Pepperdine, and if I go to Pepperdine, then I have to come stay with her. I'm just giggling, and the conversation gets a little weird. We start talking about this convention, and that it's only a women's convention and there's no men allowed except for one day, and Heather's going to be like the matchmaker, and she's going to put the sorting hat on people and send them off to their loves, but it costs them $10,000. And I'm like, no, $1,000,000. And Heather's like, $1,000,000. And we're all like, $1,000,000. In Austin, if you're watching this, he was there. I am so sorry for our craziness. Like, we were just nuts. And then, so much happened that evening that I can't even remember it all. I just remember laughing and, like, having tears in my eyes. And then Heather started, like, trying to take pictures of me, like, all the time. And she wanted me to choke poor Austin over here. And I'm like, you want me to do what to him? And she's like, just choke him. She was going to take a picture of me choking him because, she likes to choke people. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she just keeps trying to take pictures of me. And at one point, I'm trying to explain to him something on his phone, and Heather had tweeted a picture, and she called me dreaming DUI instead of dreaming DII 13, and we were just laughing about that because I DUI, like, it was just funny. And she was trying to take photos of me, and she took one randomly, and Michelle was trying to get my attention. She's like, D, 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 and Heather's like, D, D, D. But she took a picture anyway, and she put it online, and she looked at it, and she's like, oh my God, that is so Nancy. Look at how Nancy that is. That is so Nancy. I love it. It was a crazy night. We had so many awesome times, like, just with them, and it was just like one of those nights you just can't take away. I mean, there was so much more, but it was so funny because people were just watching us like, what are they doing? And I just couldn't help but laugh. And then Sunday came around, and we're ready to, go downstairs for breakfast. And, Heather and I'm wondering if she's going to be down there again. Well, she's not going to be down there again. She's down there again. And, she has her What Would Nancy Do shirt on, and she's in her glasses, and she's in her little corner again. And, she's reading her newspaper. It's the most fascinating thing on the planet. It's up here, it's right here, it's down here, it's on the chair. She's talking to people, back to her newspaper. And I'm laughing, and we're making Activia jokes again, because that's how we cope with Activia jokes about Jamie Lee Curtis. And, so then we get ready to go to the con again, and I go up to Heather's table, and I want her to sign a few more things. I'm sorry about that, Heather. I just want to hand you all my money. But then we went to the Elm Street ladies panel, and I got to be with my ladies, and I was standing back there, and poor Amanda's like, I'm so nervous, and Heather's like, just breathe, just breathe. She's like, and Amanda's like, and I'm like, Amanda, you'll be fine. She's like, oh. And then I walk over and I look around, and Heather comes up and she starts playing with my hair, and she's like, you curled your hair. And I'm like, yeah, I curled my hair. And she starts talking about the streak, and she said something like, I'm seeing more people now than ever with that streak. And I'm like, my God, I've been saying that, it's true. They haven't. We start talking about how the people have the streak, and people are always commenting me on my streak. And she asks if I've had the streak, since the last time, and I tell her I've had it since, I saw her in Indy last year. And she was just like amazed at that fact that I had it. I have to get it touched up because it came out and I haven't had time, but yeah, I've had it. I told her I've had it since then. I just keep getting it touched up, and she just loved that. And then it was time for me to go on, and I'm all nervous and stuff, and they call my name and say, Deandra, the founder of Heroes Within Us, and I can hear Heather and Amanda go Deandra, and I'm like, oh, shucks, guys, thanks for the boost of confidence. And I get up there, and I'm really nervous and cold, and I'm trying to think how I want to do this. I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to be one of those people that people are like, oh, that person sucked on the panel. They didn't know how to run it. So hopefully I did a good job. There were some great moments, like Amanda giving Michelle and I a shout-out, and Heather giving me a shout-out, and just Heather screaming. Like, if you need to watch that. That's, like, the greatest thing ever. Like, really, it's such a blast from the past. I love it. And then after the panel was over, we got to be with the ladies for a little bit, and someone told me, to come over and take a picture with the ladies for the website. And Amanda's like, you should go next to Heather, and Heather just, like, she reaches around Amanda, she's like, hello, Deandra, and I'm like, hi. And then we go, it's over, and Heather starts talking about how I'm moving up in the ranks or something like that, and I was giggling, and I told the ladies good job and everything like that, and we stayed after and talked to them for a while, and I had this urge, I just wanted to tell Heather, why I do what I do, Because, a lot of people tend to say that I'm, Heather Langenkamp #2, and that's not true at all. I'm Deandra Laser, the Heather Langenkamp Nancy Thompson fan who happens to cosplay as them, but is not them. So everybody get that through your heads. If you're watching this and you thought that, you're wrong. So just wallow in your wrongness and then get over it. And so I go up to her and I tell her, that I just love Nancy so much, and I don't have, a sad story. I've never been bullied. I've had a really easy life. I've always been a fighter, but I guess I just identified with that fighting part of Nancy, and I just, saw so much Freddie out there, and I just wanted to get Nancy out there and, get people to love her as much as I do, and get people to really, be inspired by her like I was, and just see the greatness that is Nancy. I mean, Freddie's great too, but just see the greatness in Nancy. And, she said that somewhere in that conversation, she grabbed my hand, and she's holding it as I'm telling her this, and I could see the tears in her eyes, because she's like right here looking at me, and I could see the tears in her eyes, and she just gives me a hug again, and it's a wonderful hug again, and I wanted to cry, but I was trying to hold back so much, and she's just, saying that she can tell, that she knows how much I care, and how much, she means to me, and she was saying how much she adores, what I do, and that she could tell that I've made a difference. I personally have made a difference in the world of Nancy, which was just a wonderful thing to hear, because it's what I wanted to do. It's one of the things I set out to do, and she can tell, and I'm so happy about that. And then we start talking for a little bit more, and I tell her that I would like some, I hand out Nancy pins all the time to people, and some of my friends have lost them, and she says, come back to my table, and I'll give you some. So here's one of them. But, we followed him back to her table, and we were like a posse, like all this little Langencampians around there. We were just walking behind her, and she's walking in front of us with Amanda, and, we were going to help them clean up. We asked them, and they're like, yeah, sure, you can help us. And she's like, Deandra, you can test out my markers. So I'm standing behind the table, and there's just this rush of people that come up to her, and I'm just testing out her markers there, and just testing them out, and there's more markers. I'm just there testing them out. This one's good, this one's good, this one's not so good. And, there was a crowd of people with the Langencampians there, and who are Paige, Michelle, Anthony, and Taylor. Just side note, who is an amazing person, not just an amazing Alice cosplayer, but an amazing person. And I'll get more to that later, but just know she's amazing. And so I'm writing everything, and then I decide to back off, and Michelle and I, Amanda's really hungry, so Michelle's like, let me go buy her something. And so she goes and buys Amanda a sandwich, and we get back, and Heather's already started to pack up, and she's all flustered and everything, and it's time for her to go, and I didn't know if we should go up to her or not, so we just go in the hallway, and we start talking. I see one of my friends, Amber, and Heather just rushes by, and it's like I never really got to say goodbye, and I just see her go, and I just say to myself, goodbye, Heather, thank you. Was so happy to have the weekend with her that I did. And I wish I could have told her, but, she knows that I appreciate it. I forgot to mention this, Heather, Amanda, Michelle, and I, and Austin talked a little over 2 hours on Saturday night. And, Heather and Amanda were about to go to bed, but they stayed 2 hours after to talk to us, and that was wonderful. So we had 2 hours of pretty much just the 5 of us talking, and it was wonderful. And I got a wonderful new Nightmare poster from Mikey. It was an original, and Tuesday signed it, and she gave us a wonderful message. And Mikey gave me a wonderful poster with the ladies of the Return of the Living Dead, because I got his documentary. I'm excited to watch it. And I got these amazing Nancy pins from Heather, and so much love from Amanda. She's going to be our exercise buddy, Michelle and I, and we're going to do yoga together, and that would be so wonderful. And because Amanda's such a wonderful person, and Tuesday's a wonderful person, and Heather, of course, is a wonderful person, and just they're so wonderful. And so much else happened that weekend, but like those ladies just really took over. They made my weekend so wonderful and so surreal. And of course, James and Paige, thank you so much. And then Paige gave me this wonderful Nancy doll she made. It's so amazing. She gave Heather one too. She's got the tongue phone and the red sledgehammer, and she's amazing. And I want to put pictures. I have to put pictures up. And then, Chrissy Rodolphi, I helped, because of I Made Heroes Within Us, I helped her find Dearest Adam, who is our Ash, and they're gonna get married, and she made me this little necklace with the heart with Nancy and Freddie in it, and it's so wonderful. And I just have, the most amazing friends in the world. I really do. I have to thank you guys all for everything. All the monsters, and I'm so thankful to have all of these wonderful people in my life. Like, I don't know what I'd do without all of you. My life has been so moved because of you, and I cannot thank you enough. You guys are my rock, and you inspire me every day, and you have given me such insight into life. Like, I feel like such a wise girl because of all of you. You've all had a hand in it. And I've met some really wonderful new Nightmare fans from the convention, and I'd like to give you all a little hello. I cannot wait to talk, more Heather and Nightmare with you, and just prepare yourself, because my page is very dedicated to, all of that. And, Amanda told us that Michelle and I should come out to Motor City Nightmares, because the Nightmare ladies are going to be there too, in Detroit, so in April, I believe, sometime in April. So who knows, maybe I'll make my way out there, and I'd like to, see them again, because they're worth the travel. And then, Taylor. Taylor is a wonderful person. I'm just gonna plug her here. She's a wonderful human being. She too is a cosplayer, but of Alice, and she puts so much time and effort into it. She really worked hard to be a part of Heroes Within Us. We have some wonderful heroes. We've got Frankenverter, who's on there now, who kicks major ass. Can I just say props to you, Zach? You did an amazing job that weekend. And Taylor, you're fabulous. And Adam, we love you. Steve, you weren't there, but I love you too. You're awesome. And Adam has some really wonderful costumes too, and now we have a new gentleman we just had to have. He entered into Jeff's costume contest, but the heroes were like, you're a hero, you better come with us. His name is Dan, and he is Peter Vincent, and he looks phenomenal. We just had to have him. So it's kind of like the unofficial official announcement, but he's on with us now, and so welcome, Dan. But Taylor, she's mature well beyond her years, and she loves Lisa, and she loves Heather, and she loves all the women, and she's just such a delight, and she has such an amazing story, and she's such an inspirational human being who has taken her Freddies and really used them as rockets to help her help others, and she's just a force to be reckoned with, and she's fierce, and she's smart, and she even knows karate like Alice, so I would not mess with her in any way, shape, or form. And I love her to death, and I adore her dedication to her character and everything, and she's a wonderful person. So I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, to friend Taylor, the Alice Johnson cosplayer, and support her, because she's wonderful. So even though Heather, tweeted about me and said that I was the best cosplayer in the universe, that's a fallacy. The best cosplayer in the universe is Taylor. She is. So I've pretty much covered everything that I can think of, because I don't know, there was just so much that I probably left out, but that's pretty much it, everybody. And I had such an amazing weekend, really. Again, I owe it all to my ladies and my friends, and an amazing convention again by Adolfo and Bill. Like, you guys, just Days of the Dead is like my home. Oh, and one last thing. As of 2 days ago, I am honored to announce that I am now a State of Ohio representative for Scares That Care. And this is just amazing news, because Scares That Care is such a wonderful organization who does a lot of really fantastic things in the horror world, and just in the world in general. They help so many families, and I am looking forward to having the opportunity to participate and help them out, and help with this charity and do wonders for people. Joe, you have an amazing organization, and I could not be more honored and more privileged to have this opportunity. I cannot wait to start. Oh, and if you'd like to also join Scares That Care as a volunteer state rep, send me a private message on Facebook, on YouTube, email, whatever. And if it's late, you know the number one rule, which is whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Live by it, love it, be Nancy. Bye.